So today's video is the first in a series. I'm trying to appeal to different skill levels on my channel. And so I decided that I would go ahead and do a model build. So I chose a fairly easy model. It's inexpensive and it has a lot of the different elements of any model that you might buy. So instead of going straight through and doing the build from, page 1 to page 20 all sped up, I'm dividing them up more or less by elements so that I can show you some tips and some tricks as I go along. So this video is on the paper elements of my chosen model. So let's get started. Okay, so let's work on the paper today. I think I have everything out that is going to be needed. Obviously, the instructions, I've got a little gift card thing. This will help with getting the bubbles out. It'll also help when folding paper. Got your paper scissors. I'm going to use my favorite craft glue and a paintbrush, a little something to sand. You got your tweezers, and then definitely going to want your metal ruler and your X-Acto knife. So that being said, I think I've pulled out all of the different papers in the kit. This, the kind that's not real shiny, this is a pattern for the fabric that goes on the couch. So I'm going to get rid of that. I'm going to get that out of the way. So we have here what appears to be the flooring. I'm not real certain what these are. I think these may be patterns as well. I haven't done this, so I think that's what we're looking at here. And so, okay, so these two are good to go. We're going to do that. So on 4, it tells me that I need to go and I get some wood. It's this. And I'm going to go ahead and pull these out of here, and I'm going to make the little wall, the little pictures that go on the wall. And there's squares and circles for placing these. I'm just going to go ahead and do it this way. Because they're picture frames, it's not going to really matter if I just kind of, if I have slight burrs on them, because I'm just going to come along and I'm just going to go ahead and knock those off. Now, I would want to be a little bit more careful than I just was on that. If it was something that was going to show, then I would really want to go ahead and maybe even use my X-Acto to press those, to be really careful and do like this on either side and be really careful to get a nice clean cut. Because see this burr here, and then I don't know if you can tell, it kind of chipped the wood a little bit. I'm just not concerned about it. I don't always use, some kits will tell you to always use your X-Acto knife that way. I don't do it because I go through blades like Kleenex anyway, and so I don't want to use it all the time for that. So you can make your own decisions about that, of course. So then that's what I do with these. I'm not too concerned. I'm going to get the little burrs and the little niblets off of here. This round one, I imagine I need to be very careful about, though, because it's going to be difficult. If I understand this, it looks like I have to put, I think I have to adhere like a piece on the side of that. We'll see about that. But so we're just gonna knock those off of there. I think I did this one here. Did I check? Okay. So I do need to make sure that I get all of the debris off of that, because I am going to deal with my paper and I don't want that little bits and things at all. Okay, so let's look into cutting these. Let's see here. We're going to go ahead and cut these out. Do these all the way from here. So we're going to need all these pieces. Do like that. Okay. All right, let's see. These, there's a slightly different approach depending upon the shape. So what I do with these is I go ahead and go across. I want to put my ruler on the inside of whatever I'm cutting. So I want to be very careful about this. And I'm lining up my ruler up against this right in here. I don't know how well I can show that. But what I want to do is carefully start from this part that sticks out. I'll show you. It's hard to show you and cut. So I'm going to cut straight here, not going here. Then I'm going to go straight here. And then in the middle, what I'm going to do is I'm going to score this. So I'm not cutting all the way through. Okay, so if you're a beginner, that's scoring means I don't cut all the way through with this. I'm going to gently run this across. Okay, then I can do the edge of this piece, and then I can show you what's happened here. So, all right, so I notched just here. I can go and just probably just do this by hand really quickly. See how this came out. Fairly well. If I did my scoring well, then I should be able to just gently fold that. And sometimes using that card will help, or a card. If I line it up, and I'm real careful about this, along the edge, then it'll help me to fold that. Okay, I could have scored a little bit more. Nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that for all the sides. I do need to be really careful to be as straight as I can across here, and just notch this out here. Just score carefully here, and then I'm just going to do by hand to do that little bit just by eye. Just go on around here. It's a little difficult for me to tell if I'm cutting this as precisely as I should, but I want to make sure that you can see it. So let's see here. Did I do all four? Yep. Okay. If it's nice and clean, if I've done well, then what will happen is I can bend these over, maybe with the help of the card, if necessary. I can bend these over carefully, and I can check the ends. And if I've done a good job, then those ends should match up nicely on the corner. And it's not a bad job. Not bad for the angle that I need to do this. Okay, and so then what I'm going to do is, let me see here. This is B6, correct? Yeah, B6 gets this with the vase. And so I'm going to choose the side that's a little bit nicer to put this on. Now, sometimes I want to use the glue that I like using here, but I've got to make sure that I go on the edges as well. So what I'm going to do though, to make sure that this doesn't just fall off of here, is I'm going to go ahead, I'll put the glue, and oh wow, this is really sucking the glue. All right, I may have to put a lot more glue on here than I counted on. This wood just really sucked that right back up again. And I'm not really interested in doing a tacky glue here because this glue is so nice for getting bubbles out. It's so thin, so you can see. But that also means that this wood is just going to soak that up. So, but okay, so what I need to do is keep giving this a little bit of a coat. All right. Wow. I just keep soaking it up. That's fine. All right, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put this on. Okay. I'm going to go on this side. See. I have to watch my fingers to try not to get that on the face of it. The glue, if I have it on my fingers, I might smear this if this is a little bit well, the ink isn't too bad. It's not coming off. So I'm going to press that down. And then I want to go back and I'm going to add some more glue. And I'm going to see if I can get the sides to stick to this wood, which is touch and go right now. I'm not sure that it will. Not sure if this is going to adhere. Really soaking up that glue. Well, you could probably use tacky glue if you prefer on this. Maybe on the sides, you could do that if this doesn't decide to stick very well. Tacky glue just doesn't allow me to adjust if I need to. You know, once it's glued, it's glued and you're done. But this, on the other hand, is really having a hard time sticking. It's just not wanting to do it. In addition, these don't match up precisely. So something is off. Something is off. The wood or my cut. Let's see. So it's a little off. Maybe I did this a little bit crooked. See, if I use tacky glue, I can't do anything about that. Not sure. Okay. Okay. That doesn't seem like it's on there straight. I think it is. See, this is one good thing about this glue. So I can pull that off of there. But on the other hand, it comes off of here. So it's, you know, what are you going to do? But I do think that I don't have this on precisely because I should. Now there's so much glue. It's really saturated that. Okay. Well, that being said, it's starting to stick. That'd be good. I think it'll work out fine. It's coming out apart slightly at the seam where I scored that, but that's because I have so much glue on here to get it to stick. Okay, well, I can keep messing with this until I'm happy with it. And what I want to look for as far as doing something nice and clean, what I want to do is, if I've done this well, these will meet up really nicely and crisp. But there's a little extra paper. I don't know if I can hold that, but there's a little extra paper compared to the size of the wood. And that doesn't make it easy. But if I'm lucky, if I do well, see, those are nice clean corners. This one's not as clean. All right, so I miscut slightly right there. I don't know if that's obvious at all on camera, but see, that's got a little bit of a notch. And that could be because I didn't cut it carefully. I cut it by hand. Or without a ruler, I mean. So that is sticking though. It's doing all right. It's just taking a hot minute. And what'll happen is I can glue my seams closed. As long as I keep that off the face. Okay. Well, that will dry, I think, just fine. So we're going to do that same idea again, and we're going to do the small one here. Then we have rectangle. These are all the same. That is not a big deal. Okay, so let's look at something that is a different shape, though. So what they're having us do is cut this out, and then this is going to go around the edge of the wood. So in order to do this, I need to see how they have printed this. So they've printed it to where there are little niches and notches in there. I don't know if you can tell. But to try to cut all of those little notches out, I think it's going to wind up looking kind of tacky when you're done. Like it's going to look like you ripped it instead of cutting it. So I don't know how close I'm actually going to cut that. What I'm going to do here, I might need this so I can see. Some of my lighting, something's causing me problems here. Okay. A good idea is, when cutting paper, is to hold the knife down and kind of move the paper so that I'm not really moving my knife very much. I am, of course, to a certain extent, but if I do it this way, I have a little bit more control over a nice rounded, if I have a curve, then I can move this very carefully. It's smaller bits at a time. So let me go A little slower. If I do it this way, I should get a nice, clean, round edge. And I also, I would be less likely to just cut a notch out of it or accidentally cut it in half from just moving my knife. Now, let's see how that went. Not too bad. All right, let's see what we're left with here. Yeah, they want this to have notches and stuff in it to make it look like it's an actual frame with gilding on it. I don't know. Not sure how I feel about that. Let's see what this is going to look like on here. Oh, I feel like that's not cut nicely. No, it isn't. My cut over here sticks out. So I can trim that a little bit and kind of very carefully here along the edge, use it as a little bit of a template and get that off of there. I think I would prefer not to have these notches. We're going to roll with it. If that's what they want, we're going to roll with it. It's supposed to look real that way. It's supposed to look like it's sculpted. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this down. And then we'll work on the side. Go ahead and do that. I don't want to saturate this. The other piece of paper was really saturated. This wool, the wood is just sucking this right up. I'm going to see if this will stick. Maybe. I don't really want to sit here and hold that. But the wood, see, is sucking that up so much that the paper is just coming right off of there. And it just has to sit there a sec. It will just sit there for a sec, so I'll turn it upside down. Let's go ahead and cut this and see what we can do here. This little guy. And I'm going to pull this toward me a little bit here for a sec. Bear with me. I need to make sure that I'm doing this straight. It's giving me a hard time. Okay. Okay, let's see how that worked out. I think it's a little bit off. It is very tiny bit right here. I'm going to very carefully run this up against it and see if I can take that little slice off. doesn't want to. It's a little crooked. Yeah. You can tell from the other side, really mad. I may need to do it this way, which is not the best decision because this is going to slide. Just going to try that again very carefully. There we go. Okay, now I think that it's going to be okay. What do you think? I think so. All right, so I can nip this off the edge here. Just press down. Let's see if this is dry. Not bad, pretty close. So since I've been having a hard time with this stuff adhering, I may on the side use the tacky glue, because otherwise I think I'm going to be really, it's going to be a mess if I clean this up a little more. I'm afraid it's just going to come right off of there. This wood is very, very porous. So I'm just cleaning up the edges a little bit more so that this is nice and smooth. So we'll have a little niblet there. Okay. Yeah, so I'm going to use a little tacky glue. I'm going to do what I usually do, and that is get out a piece of takeout box and just put a little bit of glue on there. And I'm going to go ahead and just use my finger for this, and then I'm going to get that off of my finger. Little paper towel situation. Try to just get it on the back and not on the front, because tacky glue is a little harder to get off at the surface of something than my favorite paper glue. Now, before I go getting all crazy about this here, I want to see what direction this dove, okay, so the dove goes like this. And so I can make my seam, I don't know that it really matters if I make the end here or if I make it at the top or anything like that. Let's see how this does with tacky glue. Yeah, not any better, is it? Well, let's see here. Let's just use we haven't. So let's see here. It's all good. Just gonna keep going around. Get some more carefully here. Okay. Okay, so when we get here, they give you a little extra. It's a little longer than is needed. And so, um, getting the pieces of tacky glue off of the side. So I want them to overlap a little bit, but not be real bulky. So what I can do is I can kind of pull this back a little and see where the seam would be, and just go ahead and press down, and it'll pull this off, and I'll have sort of a seamless look, except that they have colored this in such a way that it still shows. They've got it, it's funny, they've got it colored in such a way that you can't really have a seamless look. Colors don't match all the way across. Well, at any rate, so that is on there. I wonder if there's still a better way I can do that. I can take a little bit more off and pull that off of there with my tip on that. Let's see here. Get that to glue down. Now, something I'm noticing, and this is also because I didn't cut the best, is there's some extra. So on the back here, there's some extra. So when we go to glue that to the wall, it's probably going to be a situation where I need to go like that. And that'll get that to roll over, that extra that I didn't cut very carefully, I guess. And I want to do that so that this will stick to the wall well. And I don't really want to take the chance to cut it. But I can use tacky glue to stick this to the wall. Now, something I can do if I had the right color, but I don't think I have the right color, is I could take tiniest bit of paint around the edge where these white edges meet, the edge of the side and the edge of the top, and there's kind of a white line right there. I don't think I have the right color paint to fill that in, but you could do that if you have the right paint. I'm going to look here really quickly, but I don't think I've got the right color to do that, and without it making it really show, you know, because I think this is too yellow. I don't know. I can experiment with it and be able to show you then. See. Let's see what happens if I do that. I don't know where all my scrap paper is. It's like I didn't... Well, nevertheless, these paint pens, I think this is going to be way too yellow. If you look here, I could try a dab just to see what happens. I don't know that it's going to help or make it even better. But I have done that before. If I've had the right color, I've actually done that. Because I'm not fond of that look. Now, I've seen people do different things here. You know, try to do this afterwards very carefully, like this. I think it's just way too yellow. Yeah, you can tell. It's just more yellow. I need it to be brown. I don't have the right color for that. But anyway, if you have the right color, you can do that. I've seen people do that. I've seen people do it like right after they cut it. and doing it and then gluing it on, you know, just running your paint pen along there. But I just don't think it's going to look okay. So at any rate, so I have this one. This one is drying pretty well. It looks like this is drying properly. And I have another strange, this is a very strange shape. But this is going to go on this shape here. And I would do the same thing as I did before. Although I think these are so small that I would maybe just go by eye to notch these out very carefully. And then I can come back and use my ruler. I think I can do that and it'll be all right. So go all the way around this puppy. And this is something that you do really want to be careful on, though. Okay, so I've notched those. Then it's the same idea as before. I want to be very careful and just score. And with this having so many weird little pieces, I'm just going to go around and score all at once instead of cutting anything. I'm going to score only. I think it's the best thing to do here. That way I can keep control of this a little bit better. My ruler slid there. I don't know if you saw that. That is not going to be the straightest cut. There are quite a few of these. It's all good. I can't actually remember which one I'm done. I'm going to have to pull this up in a minute and see, because I think I did this side already, didn't I? Did I do that? Yeah. Okay. I think I've scored all the way around. Scoring's a little hard to tell, though. But yes, I have. I've scored all the way around. So now let's cut all the way around. Already developed quite a mess. Hoping that my head is not in the way. Now we're just going to go and we're going to cut these little guys. Okay. Go on around. You know, I'm sure there are some of you who are very talented and could just paint these little picture frames. I am fond of using paper if I can, because I'm fairly skilled in using paint, but I can't paint everything just as beautifully as some of you do and have it the trompe l'oeil and it looks, you know, perfect like a frame. I can do a decent amount of painting, but to make this look, I just don't think I could make this look three-dimensional. I just don't think I could. This is where paper is good for people like me. Let me see here. So I'm still attached in some areas, and I really don't want to pull those. I want to go back and use my knife. I do not want to tear this. by doing that here. Okay. Little niblets inside of these. Clean those up a little bit. Here's another one. Right in here. Those cleaned out. Okay. This one is going to be thicker than it should be. I can tell. The way they've printed these. This says, your smile is brighter than the diamond shine. Well, Google Translate doesn't always take care of everything. You can always, of course, you can make your own. You can you can take these and you could make a different. You can even adhere this and then make a different little sign to put in it, saying something else, something other than that. I'm noticing though, and this is not my mistake. This is just the design, that these pieces are. If I can show this to you. Well, it happened on the other one. It happened on this one. If I look at this from the side, there's this extra paper, and that's kind of annoying because when I go to glue this, it's gonna have a hard time sticking. But it's not the end of the world. It will stick. It's just annoying. So we're going to go ahead and stick this on here. And do the same idea where I'm probably going to use the tacky glue for the sides. Yeah, I will. See how this is going. It's not quite dry still. I had to saturate that so much. I'm concerned that it's not going to dry well, but it's fine. It's fine. So let's get this. See, look at that. Wow. It just sucks that paint right up. Glue, I mean. If I were painting this, it would do that as well. Try. The more that I put on there, the more that it saturates this poor paper. I don't want it to stick down permanently, so this is the way that it goes. I need it to be able to move. See, when I get it, when I make a mistake. I'm going to need some more tacky glue pretty soon here, but we've got enough. All right, let's go around here. Just use the good old-fashioned toothpick. It's our friend. Okay. Push in at the same time. I don't want this on the front of the frame. Okay. Yeah, all that extra paper. Thing about it is it's kind of dangerous to go and trim that. I'm so tempted to trim all of that extra paper so that I don't have a hard time gluing this to the wall, but it's really dangerous to do that. Because it's so easy to just cut right into the front. So the best choice is just to make sure that this is glued down nicely on the front, around the edges of the frame and all the way, and then just deal with that later. So let's do the wall. So what we can do here is just go ahead and cut it this way. Let's see, we've got the wainscoting here. Get this out of the way. So it is best to cut this first instead of gluing it and then cutting it, because most of the time, whether you're working with a kit or you're working with something that material that you have made, or I'm sorry, a material that you have bought, the edges of that material are probably white. Now, if you use a plain cardboard, of course, that's not true. But if you're using a foam core, or if you're using these kits which are painted wood, then if I go ahead, and this is my piece here as I'm talking, it goes this way. I'm lining up this. This is a spray painted wood. And if I go ahead and, put this on here and then try to cut, it's highly likely that I'm going to nick the edge. And then I'm going to have to paint that, or deal with it, one or the other. And if I'm making my house out of foam core or something like that, it's still the same idea, is that you're going to probably nick the side. And so you want to avoid that. And so you just go ahead and cut this out ahead. Now, does that mean that you're not going to be tempted to adjust? You might, but I would say don't give in to that. So, okay. So what we want to do is just go ahead. We line these up. It's going to go like that. And I'm just going to put a pretty decent amount. This is actually not going to soak up the glue. Why do I keep saying paint? Soak up the glue as much as the naked wood did. So I'm actually, when I do this, I'm going to want to make sure that I get rid of a lot of the excess. But I want to move this around here. Move it around first. See how much I've really got on the wood. And then what I'm doing is I'm kind of trying to be careful not to get too much over the edge. So I'm move this around, and now I'm just kind of drawing it out this way. Okay, away. Let's see, this is a little bit more than I need. I don't want it to ooze around the edge too much. And so I've got to keep that under control. I don't want too much. It'll just get, it's not like you can't get it off, but it's a hassle to deal with. It's something that you're going to have to remove, or else it's going to look dirty. It might get fingerprints. It might do all kinds of stuff. So see, I have a lot of more glue on here than I needed. So I'm going to remove. I may even have to just dab it with this a little bit. That was way more glue than I needed. And I want this to be nice and smooth as well. So do this, get it all nice, get it all the way to the edge, but just try not to let it ooze over the edge. Let's see, I still have some edges that don't have glue, believe it or not. Wow. So I'm looking at it from different directions here. Okay. Cool. I think we're good. So we want to go ahead and put this on here carefully. And this glue will allow me, see, to pull this up. If I use tacky glue, I can't do that. Now, I don't want to go and do this a bunch. I'm doing this to show you. I don't want to do it a bunch. But what I do is get it placed here, kind of double checking. And then I'm going to do this from one side to the other. Okay? And then from the middle out. So I'm checking my edges. I'm good. And I'm moving from the middle out. And this is where I can use my card, or if you have a little squeegee, which I'm not really sure where mine is at the moment. And I got a little bit on the front of that. I'm not happy about that. And I'm going to gently push any extra glue out. And I have to remove that. This all has to be done very carefully because this is not the thickest paper. Now, obviously, if you're making these from scratch, you can use a thicker paper, a better quality paper. And I have a video about what weight, what pound paper is best. We have kind of a bubble there or something. Tell if that's a bubble. Very gently I can pull this up. I cannot tell if that's just an irregularity. Yes. Very carefully. Moving out. Looks like it's a bubble. Just moving these on. Out. Keep doing that. Really, it's best to use a paper towel. And just keep moving that out. Gently, gently, gently moving that out. And any bubbles, shoot. Keep that off the surface. Any bubbles should come out. I'm very careful about this and I keep going over it. That when it dries, it'll contract and it'll be okay. Just can't seem to figure out if that's a bubble or not. Get it under control here. Make sure that these edges are adhered. Okay, let's see here how this went. Not wanting to. It's doing okay. I don't think those bubbles are going to stay. If they are bubbles. So I can clean my edges a little. Clean that off. And yeah. Clean it off and then let this go. Let this dry. Just go off of here a little bit. See, there's some extra paper there. Shouldn't be, but there seems to be a little extra paper right there. Well, I'm going to leave it for now. This has got to dry before I go worrying about anything. Maybe I stretched the paper. It doesn't look like I did. Well, that's the way that it goes. So we just do the same idea for the flooring. And I need to see, I think this one goes like this. So let's make sure. Yeah, this right here is where the little, what they call the terrace will stick. And this hole needs to go here on the outside. Has to go here. So, so that is, okay, and here's our flooring. So just going to do the same idea. Going to go ahead and cut this off. Okay, so there's that. Now we have this wall to do, but this is going to be the same. It's the same technique. So I'm not going to show you that, but I'm going to cut it out. I want to go ahead and show you how to do some other things here, because this part was all the same. This is the same idea. Now I want to leave room for myself around this. This is supposed to be a magazine, I believe, the C1-10. So it's a little book or magazine. And I would like to have a little bit of margin so that I can keep my ruler in place a little better than I have been doing. So, okay, let's just put that off. This is the same way. All right, I don't believe I need those, but we are going to need this stuff here. And we're going to need, let's see, what else? Okay, so you can finish that one same way. What do we have? Okay, so they're going to show you how to glue these on. It's actually on the next page. And you've got a little spot for all these. You just match those up. Tacky glue will work fine for this. This needs a little bit more glue maybe under here. It's not quite dry. So those little spots for them. This right in here and so forth. But I know there's some more paper we need to do. Aha, okay. It's on page 11. So what we do here is we've got this little top. So we dig around and we find this guy. So this is a tabletop. And so I do the same thing that I have been doing. In this case, I've got some rounded corners. So I may want to come ahead and cut the rounded corners carefully. Once again, moving my paper and more or less just sort of pushing down on that paper more than pulling the blade across. Just little bits at a time. And I'll get a nice corner on that if I'm really careful about it. So okay, now we are gonna use this. Go ahead and do this all the way around. Okay. I'm going to be careful to make that really straight, and this didn't quite cut all the way through. So I can fix that now. Around here, this one as well. Okay. Let's see how this looks. Not bad. I still see maybe a little bit of looks like it still needs to be trimmed there. Let's see. Yeah, this one. So I was thinking about this. And I think that it might be okay if we actually did use this to cut on the edge on purpose. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to glue this down here. And then I'll show you what I've been thinking about. This is way too much. Way too much. All right. Let's see here. So because it's really rather difficult to that's another thing about this glue is I'm constantly getting glue on the front of things, and this glue comes off. So Okay. Since this looks like marble, or it's supposed to look like marble, if I scrape the sides just a little bit, I kind of wonder if I can make it look like the grain of the marble goes onto the side. So first let me make sure that this is glued down as much as it can be, which it is not. For this to work, I've got to have this on here really well. And so I may just go to the next step, and then I'm going to show you what I think will work. Okay, let's leave that to dry, and then I'll see. I think I need a new blade. So we're going to do this stuff. And it's rough because it's circles. And to get a nice clean circle is just rough. All right, so let's get a new X-Acto knife on here. Okay, so let's look at the instructions here for a second. So we have the top. So it's telling me we're going to have our 3 layers here. We're going to have a little doily on top of a plate on top of this white piece. Okay, which this is just to give it a little bit of thickness. So let's see here. So this one is C12, C13. This is not the one that I'm actually supposed to do. There's another piece in here. Here it is. And it's a card stock. And this, the plate, it goes, this is the base. And then the plate, and then the doily. So it's not this. This is actually the bottom for this piece, and that is the planter, which I'll show you how to do those later. So really all we want, we can just remove these items, because that's what we're going to do. You know, there's a reason that you should buy brand named blades. These are not brand name, and I think it's part of the problem. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to take this little guy. I'm going to cut him out from off of this. This is the battery pack. And let me see here. Shall I go ahead and hear him? Let me think about this. Yeah, I think so. I mean, it doesn't have to go on this printed side. We can take this, trim it off, and just glue it to the back. I don't think it makes any difference. There's a slight sheen on this side, but I don't think that's going to matter. I don't really think it's going to matter if I don't line it up either. So let's do it. Let's just do it this way. Okay. Take this little fella, and I'm just going to go ahead and glue him on there. And then since I am cutting through both of those, I do want this to be nice and dry. So I'm going to set that to the side as well. And we're going to deal with this doily here. Well, we have doilies, and then we have I don't know what this is. Are these little pieces of flyers? I couldn't tell you. Let me try the magnifying. they look like prayer cards. I don't think that's what they're supposed to be, but that's what they remind me of, is prayer cards, like for someone's funeral. It's what it looks like, but I can't tell even under the magnifying light. I'm just going to go ahead and cut these little guys out while I'm at it. And of course, they're all just slightly a different size. Ha! You're kidding me. So that I can't just cut straight across. No, why would they do that? That would be logical. That I could line them up, but I can't. They're all ever so slightly a different length. I'm going to run the risk of cutting this off. Gotta be careful. So, all right. It's funny. It's the best way to do this. Probably this way, even though that's not suggested. But I'm not going to be able to get around it. So that's moving. It's super glue that's left over from something. So this one's going to be a little bit shorter because I screwed that up. There's a tiny line. A really little one. I want to trim that off. There we go. And this still is a little bit crooked. Okay. Well, there's one of the little prayer card things. I really don't know what that is. That's a little bit morbid, if that's, I don't know. Surely it must not be. Okay. Just adjusting and turning it to try to get a nice way to trim this. One thing that I can do if I'm going to be a little bit more careful about this is I can cut from the middle. I can cut from the middle out and then from that end in. See, and that would actually keep my ruler from moving if I use my head about this. So in other words, okay, this has to go this way. So if I take my X-Acto and I cut this way and then this way, and then if it moves, it doesn't matter And that's a way that it can be done. It's something this tiny, and it's just on a regular piece of paper. It's not on cardstock or anything. You have to have perfectly clean area, which I do not, with a really nice ruler, which I do not have. And let's see how this went. I'm going to look under my magnifier. There's a tiny bit in the corner. Itsy bitsy bit. I'm going to go ahead and trim. There we go. Okay. All right, back to the doily here. Okay. So in this case, we have to cut the little notches out. We can't just try to go straight across, straight around. It won't look like a doily if we do that. So what needs to happen is really, let's see here. What we can do, we can try a couple ways. I've done this by going just by hand, just by eye, no ruler, and just kind of notching this a little bit and go here and so forth. But I think what'll wind up happening is that you're going to wind up with a point on the edge of that, and you don't really want that. So I'm going to try doing what I'm going to do with this, which is moving the paper and just sort of punching with my knife, and see, it's still not going to be quite right. It's going to be really difficult to not have pointed edges on this doily. And so I think, okay, I've got an idea what I might do. I'm going to go around on this, and I'm not going to worry about the fact that it's going to be pointy. In fact, what if I just do this? I go ahead and go around and then go and cut it as a circle. Wonder what would happen then. Well, let's try. We're just going to find out, because that's what we're going to do. Okay, so now that I have kind of notched this out, what I was thinking is then I can go and I can smooth these. And I think this will work. This is going to require that I use the magnifier though. And see, if I do that, then I might just be able to go around and cut off the ends so that they're not pointy. And I think what's going to happen here is it'll look like a doily. Now it's going to take a little patience. It's going to take going around to every one, I think, again, and cutting the points off of them. Some of these didn't cut. Well, I think it worked. We could still use a little bit more work. I think I could still work on this. Some of these are still not quite rounded enough. This area right in here's got some issues. Yeah. Yeah, there's some. It's not bad though. And it did fairly well. Looks pretty good. Looks pretty much like a doily. Okay. So let's see. This should be ready to go. Yes, it is. Okay. So the idea is to punch. Just punch around the edges. Don't try to slice this all the way through. Just punch and turn. All right, let's see. Some areas it didn't punch as well, but yeah, across in here. But see, now what I have is I have a gutter, so it's going to be a lot easier this time. Punch it loose. Just go around again, I guess. Okay, so by punching that, I have a lot more control over it, but I still don't have a nice edge, right? However, because this is on a little bit of a cardstock, I can actually just sand it a little bit. And that's what I will do. Now, when I do this, I have to be careful, and I want to sand kind of down this way. I don't want to sand the two pieces apart, but I'm going to go ahead and this is how I'm going to smooth it out. And I might have to do this a few times to get a nice smooth shape. And see, pieces are coming off. You can't tell probably, but they are. See, I can do on the underside. See, they are. They can go like this. It's from the underside. Get some of that off of there. And just carefully do this until I get a nice round, perfectly round plate. Now, there are a lot of times when you want to cut a very small round piece. Now, I've seen people who have been able to purchase different size hole punches, hand hole punches, but it's kind of expensive. Like, I was looking on Temu and I was looking for a set. I thought maybe I could buy a set because then the really, really tiny circles, I figured I could just punch those out. I figured that not something this big. But in order to purchase them, you have to purchase them individually, at least at Temu. And it was separate. They're little separate ones. So there wasn't a way to just put a cartridge in or something like that for a different size. And so I was kind of sad about that because I don't want to spend a lot of money on it. So this will work if you have cardstock. But obviously, if you just have one piece of paper, then sanding the edges is not going to work. But I could keep doing this forever. And what I'm doing is trying to get it to where it's a circle. It's a nice, clean edge to it. And then I'll knock off any of this extra underneath. Always moving from the end. See, it didn't cut perfectly. And I am, I don't want to mess this up too much and really gouge it. So I am trying to hold my X-Acto kind of out a little. So I don't know how many I did of these. I have done so many of these little magazines. I made a bookstore once. And if you've made a bookstore, you have done enough of these to satisfy your desire to make little books for the rest of your life. So I learned a few things from doing, gosh, I don't know how many books. Now, one thing you can do, of course, is you can make your own. You don't want whatever this is. It looks like it's a furniture magazine, an interiors magazine. But you can. So here's what we're looking at. This part closest to the C1-10, that's the back. There's a tiny spine here that says Destria or something like that. And there's your front. So it's very difficult to see. And it's even more difficult to see in the actual instructions. But what you want to do is you're going to score along, okay, what would be that spine. Then you're going to score here, 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 all the way across. And you can kind of see the dotted lines for that until, right in there. It's very strange. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to score first. I'll cut off the end. I'll just go ahead and cut off the end. And I have not been able to do an absolutely perfect book. But I'll show you how to cover up mistakes. Okay, so I'm scoring again. That means just a little bit. I don't want to push all the way through, especially when it comes to these books. So just scoring. I want to try not to cut all the way through. If I do cut all the way through, it's not the end of the world. You just glue it together. You just glue it back. Or sometimes you go to fold it and it just comes apart, and you just glue it back together. You can glue along the edges and it's not a problem. Okay, I think that's here. Super difficult to see. I think the next score line is there. And then here's the end. Okay. Let's see how well that did. Did I get all of them? Yes. Okay. Now I can trim the edges. Go ahead and cut along the long pieces. Sure that I did a pretty good job of that. This is usually where it'll have to be trimmed again, because I find that there's usually some sort of error, and the slightest error will make the book look uneven. but it can be fixed. Okay. Cut this end off. So how about if we cut that end off nice and neatly? That was careless. Okay. So, all right. So this, see, is how the outside will look. So they don't show you very well, but here's how you do this. You're going to fold this one in. I'll show you. You're going to go in and then out and then in and out as you go. Okay, but these two go in this direction, right? And this is all going to get shoved in there. Okay, so sometimes it's a little bit difficult to actually bend these. So you can always use your card to get a nice straight edge. And just use the edge to help you get a nice okay. All right. So if I did a good job, then these should all go in there like this. And then what'll happen, and I'm checking something here. Yeah, not bad. Okay. So I want to go ahead and glue. Yeah, it's still going to need to be trimmed, I think. I'll show you. It'll be obvious why in a minute. But I'm going to take my glue, and you want to glue this here, but then don't glue those pages together. You're going to glue these two together, right? Gluing every other one. Glue your pages, accidentally glue your pages together. See, I can squish it as I go and adjust. What I want is a nice edge along here. Nice edge to where those are going to go. And in order to get a nice edge here, sometimes it's not as nice going the other direction. In other words, it's easier if I want to cut and trim. I can cut here, but I can't cut here without cutting my pages apart. So if I'm going to make a mistake, I would rather it be, down here or up here, and not on these ends. So anyway, I'm going to keep gluing each section together. And now I want to look at it. I'm squishing and adjusting the edges. All right. Now I can glue the back cover, and I can glue inside here and bring this around. All right, let's see how that worked out. Not bad. Looks like it did pretty well. Let's see. Not too bad. Actually, I think it turned out okay. So there's your little magazine book. It needs a gluing, a little extra glue in there. Okay. So that, okay, that looks pretty good. So what you're going to have is you have this on here and your little cards or pamphlets, whatever they're supposed to be. And that will be pretty decent. Checking to see that this is square. It looks like I need to trim a little bit. Let's see. No, I guess it's fine. I could trim them, but I don't want to go overkill. So what, so we have that. We have all of those. I'm going to see about doing a little something on the edges here and see how that works. And I will show you in a sec here. So I wanted to see if I could get the marble grain to sort of go over the edge and onto the side. So it would look like, you know, a thick piece of marble for this top. And I was able to get a fairly decent effect there. So I'm going to show you what I did there. And then also I did find a color of gold paint that I think is fairly decent for the side of this plate. This is the plate that the little donuts are going to go on. And I did put one coat on here, and I'll show you how I did that because I'm going to do more. I'll need to do more. Also, thought I would just tell you. For the doily, I got to look into the doily and I was like, well, you know, maybe really I ought to punch little holes in it so that it looks even more like a doily. And so I spent a little bit of time doing something that probably will never ever be seen, but the fact that it has holes in it just makes me kind of smile. So I just decided to make that look even more like a doily. So that's what I've been doing. Now, one thing here is I have these really small brushes and they work just fine. For the edge of the plate, though, you might want to use the handy dandy toothpick here. The idea is that you need a lot of control over this paint because you don't want it on the face of the plate. Now, I mean, a lot of times you can just take your finger and sort of wipe it off, but it's a hassle and it might stick. So the idea is that you hold it up, the underside up, and then you can go around the edges very carefully and apply the paint. And, you know, I used a brush. You could use this. Just kind of depends on what you have. It's probably really hard for me to show you this, but I want this to come up. It's really, really very difficult for me to show this to you. Basically, just be aware that you want a nice, slick edge. And if that means that you have to do a lot of different coats, then just go ahead and do it. And I want some on the edge here, like it's showing up, so that it's on the top of the plate too, but not too much. So this takes a hot second to do, you know, and any extra I'm not happy with, I'm going to kind of flick off that way. So I just keep going around until I get a nice, shiny, and it's really nice and smooth. I just keep going around. And just in between, just let it dry. I don't think I've gone all the way around this. Hard to say. Okay, so that's the idea, is I'm going to have it go all the way around. And it'll take a little more. I don't want to keep doing it and then soak it. I want to dry and then add another coat. So that's all I'm doing there. And I can pull that off the front, kind of tamp that down. And it's working pretty well, looks like. So then I don't want to stick this on here, but you'll be able to tell the difference between the plate and the tabletop. Looks like I got a little bit more on the side than I really would like. So I'll just use my Q-tip to do that, to get that off of there. Okay, so that's how that's going to happen. And yeah, I wound up getting that a little bit on there. It's okay, I just need a little water. And I can get that off of there very carefully. So, okay, so I'll show you this. And this is another one where you could use a Q-tip. But what we want to do is very carefully, kind of bring this over. Just, I mean, you don't need that much at all in the way of paint, but give yourself a decent amount of white paint here. And then like a dot of black paint. Just, in fact, I'm going to use the other end of this toothpick to just put a dot of black in there. That's about it. That's about all I can do. Because it's best to just start out light and find out that it was not dark enough, then the other way around. You just can't. There's nothing you can do. Like, I think I still need to maybe add a little more white to this. This looks like it might be a little bit dark. Let's see. Oh, let's make sure it's all mixed well. Okay, gets a lot of the excess out of here. On the side, I want a fairly dry brush. And I'm going to look and just kind of look at the top and go at the side here. And kind of add a little here and there. I can take my finger and kind of make this rough. And I'm just kind of trying to make that look like it goes all the way down. Let's see, some here, just a tiny bit. I can use my finger to adjust this. I don't like it. This was kind of dark. This is where I did it before on this side. And once again, like, I've got a Q-tip here somewhere. And I can adjust things a little bit. What do we think here? It's pretty good. A little bit there. All right. So it kind of looks like it, you know, the vein. It's all the way around. Pretty good. Yeah, I think that'll do. I see, you know, I could do this till the cows come home. And probably it's just not necessary. But try to make it look real. Okay, so it can obviously just be left like this, and it gives it a little bit more realism. The idea, I'm going to show you something else. So this, it's a matte. It doesn't have a lot of sheen on it. It's got, a little bit. But I got to thinking, well, maybe I would like to make this look really like a slab of marble, like a really shiny. So what I decided to do is I'm actually going to use some of this gel nail polish. And I like this. You'll hear a lot of people on here talk about using gel nail polish for things. And I decided, I think I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put a coat of that on top and the sides of this. What's nice is if you've never used this stuff before, it doesn't dry right away. You do need to use an LED light to cure it. But as far as the standpoint as a crafter, I mean, it's great if it doesn't dry right away. It's fantastic because I can make sure that I like this, that it's nice and even. Draw it across, make sure that it's going to be as nice and shiny and glossy as possible. It's going to be awesome. There's a little bit of niblets here, I see, that I did not see, but I see now. I don't know if I can get those out. I don't really want to put that on there. Might be able to. Let's put another in. Just keep drawing that across. And if you really want things to be rounded, I mean, you can put several coats on here. Several coats. Okay. So, it's not bad. It's like there's a hair. There's a lot of great things about this. If you look, I mean, the marks from my brush will generally just melt away. It'll just level out. It's wonderful. And if it doesn't, I just go back and I just do some more here. I want to draw that across as nicely as possible. Okay, so if I'm going to do the top, I'm going to do the sides as well. So I'm going to draw that down and across. Now, because I'm holding this, I'll need to put, I'll have to cure it and then do the rest after it's done so I can hold on to it. Try to get that as even as possible. Okay, so I'm going to put that in the little machine, the LED over here. It looks good. So you get a nice shiny top to it. I like that. That's what I'm going to do. Well, it's too late. If I wanted to change it, I can't. I'm silly. All right. Well, the next week, I've got it on my end card, what we'll be doing next week. So thanks so much.